Get myself unmuted. I'd like to introduce Michael Clough. Michael Clough is a naturalist, and he's the head of the Southern Vermont Natural History Museum in Marlborough, up on top of Hogback. I drive by the place every day, so I thought it'd be a good chance for us to hear what he's up to, the changes that are being made at the museum, and a few things about himself. So please welcome Michael Clough.
You all hear me okay? Am I working? Yeah? Excellent. It's funny, thinking about talking to you all today, I thought back to 4 years ago, I think it was, when we came and talked to the Sunrise Rotary about big plans we had for the museum. And I didn't originally think I was going to lead off with this, but since Phil has actually already asked about it, and really it goes pretty nicely into that intro. And thank you, John, for inviting me here today. What I was thinking we'd do is I'll give you an update on what's going on at the museum. Maybe some of you would even like some information about what this museum thing is. And generally, when I'm doing anything, people want me to bring live animals. So I do have a couple animals for y'all to see if you're interested in that. I'm seeing some not like childlike enthusiasm, but I've got some smiles on the screen. Okay, good. But I guess just to start off, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with the museum, as you just heard, we're up on Hogback Mountain. The museum has been here in one format or another since really the 1960s. And then in the late 90s, Ed Metcalf, who I'm sure some of you know Ed, heard the collection. And what we have here is an historic collection. Over 600 mounts, taxidermy mounts, most of them from around the 1930s, that are all representative, with a couple exceptions, of species that you find in the Northeast. So we don't have tigers or parrots or even, I'm trying to think of some, all the examples I'm going to use, we actually do have, or even things from on other sides of the country. We're really very focused on the Northeast. And it is the largest collection of its kind in Vermont. It's the third largest in New England, and may possibly be the largest exhibit in New England, because Yale and Harvard have more native birds and mammals than we have, but their entire collections aren't on exhibit. So to come here to the museum for that kind of that core taxidermy piece, you're going to see a huge diversity of birds and mammals. Actually, that 250 species doesn't even include the insects. So that's kind of what the foundation of the museum is. And if some of you are like, oh yeah, I went there 20 years ago, that's pretty much what we had. But also shortly after Ed purchased the museum, they brought in a couple live birds of prey, and that ended up being very popular. So over the years, we've added more along those lines. We've added a mineralogy collection, also very focused on the Northeast. That tends to range a bit further away than necessarily New England. But the whole idea is providing this window to our local environment, our local nature. And we achieve that partly with people coming to visit the museum, but then also us going out. Really, we see ballpark around 27,000 people a year the last few years. And over 20,000 of those people are in direct programming, most of it off-site. So when we think of what's happening at the museum right now, none of that is happening. And that's actually kind of a concern for us, that our busiest months of the year for program income and reaching people, it's going to be pretty close to zero. We probably won't meet our expenses this summer. So that's actually caused a lot of thought in how we are changing our operations now, and then looking at how it will eventually be reopened. Right now, we are not allowed to be open to the public. And for those of you who have visited the museum, we've got a lot of bottlenecks in this building that will make social distancing very difficult to maintain here if we just open up to the public. So what we're thinking about right now is by appointment only, once we are given the green light to go ahead. And then we can keep people in their social groups moving through the museum. And really a lot of the challenges we were looking at, we'll be able to just do away with by just having people who are connected. Phil's question earlier on was, how are we with the museum move? Because we are in this beautiful location on the side of a scenic overlook. You know, there's quite a slope here. The museum does not own the building we're in. Our parking is not great, especially if we're thinking of buses. This is actually one of the main things I talked about 4 years ago, how we were very excited about our move. And we had this great vision. And that's all we had. We just had a great vision. A couple years ago, we had some consultants come in with some experience and some brain power, and they got us started on a much more intelligence track. This past winter, we started recruiting an advisory board. I believe Craig Miskovich, I think, had reached out to you guys. I'm not sure if that ever really happened, but started putting together an advisory group to help really get moving forward in more concrete steps. You know, we had the vision before, but we had no way to get there. So our goals now are more to build that process to get to that vision. And that's, I mean, I don't know, you probably all don't want to hear too much about that right now, but we were really getting rolling on that when all of a sudden COVID-19 hit and we had to stop everything dead in its tracks. We're at a point now where, John, you're going to get an email pretty soon, where we're starting to reach out to those folks that were interested in being involved, interested in helping with really updating our strategic planning and that sort of infrastructure work. We're at the point where we're starting to reach out to those people again and say, okay, what are you comfortable with? How are we going to start that process rolling again? I'd also like to point out, as I'm jabbering away, and I'm able to talk pretty much nonstop, so pros and cons of that. I also have my chat box open, so if y'all have questions or anything as we're going along, don't be shy. Please, I would much rather be interactive than just talking at people. So either direct that or me. I'm not really 100% on how that all works, but I believe you can either direct it straight to me or just put it up to everyone. That'd be great. Phil, did I answer your question at all, by the way, with that brief information? I can't.
Yeah, reasonably. I mean, I think, or at least as of a few years ago, I know that Ed was looking and you were looking for a location that would give you more of a permanent year-round audience, preferably in Southern Vermont. I think that's correct.
Yeah, and that's absolutely, Southern Vermont is where we want to be. I think realistically, it's even narrowed down to Windham County. I mean, that's not definite. If something comes along in Southern Vermont, we wouldn't necessarily turn it away. But the preference of the board really seems to be Windham County. Most of our volunteers are coming out of Brattleboro. You know, all of our board members are Southern Vermont. So we've got a lot of reasons to stay here. And just too, when you think of similar attractions in Vermont, and as we look at what we want to be, we want to grow to, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Monshire Museum up in Norwich or the Echo Center up in Burlington. That's the scale we're envisioning. We want something that's going to bring in 100,000 people a year to whatever community we're in. Already with our smaller facility that doesn't have really a ton of flash. I mean, we have the bald eagles and about a dozen live birds of prey and some other things that definitely people get excited about. It's not a great curb appeal where we are here. So we're not sucking in a lot of people. Whereas with this new vision, really regional attraction is what we want to build. No other questions. All right, so covered what the museum is, gave you guys an idea of how we're doing. Does it make sense to partner with the Retreat Farm or Bonnievale? We've actually talked to both of those groups. And for various reasons, the retreat farm, actually, we are starting to go around with the retreat farm again. But as of a couple years ago, the two visions of what the museum would be, we were just having a hard time finding middle ground. Bonnievale too, fantastic organization. It's great when we do partner with Bonnievale already on a lot of things. But have you ever driven out to Bonnievale during mud season? Yeah. And so we kind of lose that year-round access piece. And really, I don't think they're all that excited about having a giant building put on that site either. And we are envisioning 20,000 square feet, you know, something that's going to be a real state-of-the-art modern museum. Okay. You guys want to see an animal? Yeah? Okay. The nice thing, oh, what kind of money do we need? I had a number that I used to throw around a few years ago. I've been told to stop doing that. So our strategic planning and is really going to try to come up with more concrete numbers. We're envisioning, though, I think I can say this, a multi-million-dollar facility. You know, this is big deal kind of money we're going to be looking for. Okay. So last time I saw y'all, I brought a red-tailed hawk. Kind of the upside. I'm going to back this camera off a bit. There we go. Kind of the upside to doing Zoom, and so far this is the only upside I can come up with, is we can get a much closer look at the little guys. And this is a eastern box turtle that just is kind of a neat animal when we're thinking of Brattleboro, because officially they do not exist in Vermont. They're considered a hypothetical species, which is a weird, you know, we all have heard of endangered species and threatened species. Box turtle is a hypothetical species. What for many years people thought whenever a box turtle was occasionally found in southeastern Vermont, it was a escaped pet. You know, you used to be able to buy them in pet stores in New Hampshire. Recently, there's been some evidence and growing thought amongst biologists and turtle aficionados that maybe we used to have box turtles here. With deforestation and development of Vermont, you know, back in the 1800s, they disappeared or were knocked down to such a tiny number, nobody noticed them. And in recent years, they've started to come back. So there's the Vermont Reptile and Amphibian Atlas. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. Is a great citizen science activity we can all do whenever we find reptiles and amphibians. They're very excited about box turtles right now, trying to document some baby box turtles. You don't have to go very far into Massachusetts before you start finding populations of them. So this little guy came to us as an unwanted pet that was taken to another nature center over in New York. The lady running that program decided she wanted to be the crazy crow lady of upstate New York. Her words, not mine. And he's not a crow. So she had to find him a new home, and he came to live with us. Box turtles being passed around from owner to owner is a pretty normal thing. If people take good care of their box turtle, which usually they don't, but the animal can live well over 100 years. So they're a pet that tends to have multiple homes in its lifespan as people grow up or get sick of them, or literally the turtle outlives the owner. I see somebody has a Russian tortoise. Oh, try to diversify his diet. Yeah, he should eat a lot more than cucumbers. Yeah. Give us a call at the museum. Maybe we can help you out, or after this, we can chat about it a bit. That's actually a weird thing with reptiles. Like I did bring a bird, don't worry. But with our birds of prey, they live 2 or 3 times longer here than they do in the wild. With reptiles, especially turtles and tortoises, their life in captivity is a fraction of what it is in the wild. I mean, I've had tons of people tell me, oh yeah, I used to have a red-eared slider. It lived like 4 years. In the wild, they should live 40, 50 years, easy. So it's tough. It's harder to take care of them than the pet store often advertises. Turtle questions? I actually don't know what time it is either. So somebody yell at me when we get close to time. Oh, hibernation. Yeah. So with, we probably shouldn't go too much into the animal care stuff, Lisa. We're going to lose everybody else. But when some people will hibernate their pet turtles, and that actually does help lengthen their lifespan. If you want to breed them for some reason, it's essential. I don't think that's legal. Well, it might be with Russian tortoises in Vermont. But, you know, it's something also that they would be doing in the wild. Okay. So any kind of, actually, if we want to turn this into more of a Vermont wildlife program, don't be shy of those questions too. It's 12:36. Yeah. Oh, I have 15 to 20 more minutes. Oh, great. If you guys want it that long. So now we'll grab something else. So with our live animals, the reptiles, like the snakes and the turtles, for the most part, they're unwanted pets or they're animals that have been seized by Fish and Wildlife. Our birds, are all handicapped animals. So this barred owl was actually hit by a car in Keene, New Hampshire, so not too far away. She got hit, it broke her leg, busted up her eye, and broke her wing. So those are three things this bird needs to survive in the wild, and none of them healed right. So this owl can't fly, she has no depth perception, and she can't grab correctly. A barred owl's feet, like right there, those are their weapons. That's what they're going to use to catch their dinner. Her left leg doesn't work right, so it's hard for her to catch her dinner there. And I see somebody helping turtles across the road. Yeah. Is that to everybody? Yeah. So you guys see that post from Jennifer about helping turtles across the road? That's absolutely help them, keep them going in the direction they're pointed in. A lot of times we'll grab them and turn them around and throw them back in the pond. This time of year, the turtles we're seeing in the road, especially snapping turtles, and also the painted turtles, most of those turtles are going to lay their eggs, or they're trying to get back to the water after laying their eggs. So you take that mama snapping turtle, she's heading across the road, you grab her, you throw her back in the pond, she hasn't laid her eggs yet. She has to turn around and go right back out into the road. Whereas if you keep her the direction she's going, you know, at least she's going to get across the road once before she has to turn around and go back to that pond. Barred owls are another thing that we tend to see. That's, you know, a lot of times when, and I actually used to do live animal programs with exotics, and it was always, oh, very exciting. This is, you'll find these in Africa and South America. Having the native wildlife, especially something like a barred owl, like how many of you, I can only see some of you, but how many of you have ever seen a bird like this in the wild? A couple hands from the hands I can see. How about, have any of you ever been out at night and heard also this bird? Yeah. So when we see an animal we've seen before, I feel like it's a different kind of connection. You know, it's a different, oh yeah, I've got those at my house. Let me tell you this story about the barred owl I saw. Oh, now all the turtle questions, I pull out the owl and all the turtle questions start coming. So I'll do questions though. If you see turtles sitting on logs sunning themselves, there are a couple different options in Vermont. A few different turtles that could be. The one they're most likely to be are painted turtles. Snapping turtles rarely come out of the water for anything other than laying eggs. To the point that some of you might have seen this. Like you can see this in the retreat meadow a bit. If you're out in a canoe or kayak or something, you'll see a snapping turtle just floating at the surface. That's their answer to the painted turtle climbing up on a log. You know, they're just floating at the surface of the water. They're soaking up some sunlight, getting that vitamin D built up, building up some heat to energize them for the day. They really rarely come out of the water. So actually, that's a great way to tell males from females. If you see a snapping turtle in the middle of the road, it's almost guaranteed to be a girl. The boys don't have to lay eggs, so they just stay in the water where it's safe. Okay, owls, no. Are there mountain lions in Vermont? Anna, are you trying to get me in trouble? Yes, big nodding head. All right. So mountain lions in Vermont. Officially, we do not have a population of mountain lions in the state. And I think that's a very safe statement to get behind. A population of mountain lions in the state. Every state around us has documented sightings of mountain lions. And there are 40, don't get mad, Jennifer. I'm just trying to answer the question professionally. So Vermont has about 40 or 50 sightings each year that are good enough that the state investigates them. You know, they're like, oh, okay, this seems credible. Let's get out there and check it out. But we don't have solid evidence. You see one on the side of the road, take a picture of it. The state wants evidence. They really do. And they just haven't gotten any solid evidence. To give you an idea of how serious the state is about it, a couple years ago, they redid all their wildlife action plans, including animals that are endangered or extirpated from the state, with an eye to what might come back. Mountain lions had a plan put together for what to do when mountain lions are confirmed in Vermont. Wolves did not. So we've got wolves in Canada. We've got wolves out in the Midwest. There have been documented wolves in upstate New York and in Maine, very sporadically. But the state felt that they should have a plan in place for mountain lions before they had a plan in place for wolves. So, someone put, yes, I saw one cross the road in front of me. Maybe you did. Yeah, it's definitely possible. And I don't think it used to be the game warden would go, no, I saw a golden retriever. You saw the bottom of a bottle of wine or whatever they'd say. They don't say that anymore. It's realistic that there can be cats moving through the state. And the ones that have gotten DNA connections on, or what cat was hit in Connecticut several years ago, what they've gotten DNA info on, all these cats have tied to the West, and they've all been males. So with mountain lions, the young male grows up, mom kicks him out. She doesn't want him in there. The adult males in the area will beat him up, kill him even. So he has to strike out on his own. He has to find some place where there's food, where there's girls, and where there are no adult male mountain lions. So the thought is some of these cats come east. They find food, no girls. They keep going, no adult male mountain lions, plenty of food, no girls, and they keep coming east. And then they get here to New England, and they're like, all right, now I'm running into Boston. Now I'm running into too many highways. I'm going to turn around and go back. Or they swing north up into Canada. That's my mountain lion spiel. And the best location for a barred owl house. These birds really like water. I mean, they're not like an osprey that's going to dive in the water all the time, but they like to be near water. I believe the recommendation is within half a mile of water. And things like swamps and marshes, little ponds, those are probably the best. They like mixed forest. I mean, really, look at most of Vermont, that's barred owl habitat. They like a young forest with lots of little openings in water, which is really perfect for barred owls. So far as like height and everything, I'm not remembering the exact numbers, but that's a pretty easy Google search. Carl, it looks like. What else do we want to talk about? Let's see. I really can keep going for a really, really long time. You guys give me a little direction what you want to hear about. Oh, looks like Tammy's typing. No? All right. Let's roll back to the museum a little bit. What we've been trying to do to kind of react to this change in our program capabilities is we have been doing live streams. We started off doing a bunch of free live streams and realized we weren't helping ourselves any. So now folks are sponsoring live streams, and we're working with those people to figure out what the topic is. We've actually on Friday afternoon, we're going to do a live stream on bald eagles. We filmed down at the reservoir to get some wild nest footage, and then we'll be in the enclosure with my awful cell phone with some grainy live streaming. And we've done one on taking kids outside with nature, into nature, and made the big mistake of doing that on one of the first really beautiful days. So we didn't have a lot of people watch it while it was on, but afterwards, you know, we've had some good hits. Yeah, the live streams, we actually will advertise the live streams on our website, Carla. And then also we're just going through Facebook live streams. So if y'all do Facebook, just like the museum, and we just go it right through that, and we leave it up on the Facebook page too, for folks who missed it. Again, we're kind of looking at our original, here everybody have everything for free forever. We're kind of looking back on that and wondering if that was the smartest business plan. And those things will probably start to come down after they've been up for a week or two. But the neat thing that's recently, oh, here we go. Easy way to distinguish male and female mountain lion. Yeah, but you have to get really, really close. You may not want to get this close because you're going to have to flip them over onto their back. Yeah, good. I see laughs. You guys see where we're going with this. Okay, good. In general, the males are bigger than the females, but that's probably not going to help you when you see one run across the road. You know, they're all big animals. I mean, females in the north are going to be 90 plus pounds. You know, when you see it, it's going to look like it's the size of a deer. And then the male, they weigh the same as people. Pretty, you know, loosely saying that. The males are bigger than the females. Like a really big male is going to weigh 200 or so pounds. But yeah, the best way to tell is you catch them and look between their legs, you know. What are the biggest threats to owls? Great question, Martin. So far as adult owls, they don't really have much for predators. Bigger owl is going to be the biggest problem for them. And most of the time you'll see, like a barred owl really only has great horned owls to worry about. So the barred owls live in the woods. Great horned owls live in the fields. They don't run into each other that much. When they're young, like in the nest, they have to worry about a lot of potential nest predators. Raccoons are a big issue with raptor nests, actually. Yeah, other birds of prey will try to raid the nest. Crows will try to raid the nests. The biggest threats that an adult owl is facing are really all human related. That, you know, the habitat destruction, that's such an issue for so many animals. The barred owl is actually pretty resilient to that if there are trees left. You know, if there's, they can do fine with a lot of different types of logging, as long as there's some forest left for them. They adapt to us very well. Pesticides, especially rodenticides, are a huge issue for owls and hawks. You know, you put that rat poison out, the rat eats it, he wanders off, and slowly dies. Most of those rodenticides basically cause the animal to bleed out internally. So say it gets outside, it dies on the side of the road, an owl comes down and eats it, or your cat eats it, then that poison is passed on to the predator. This spring, we had a woman bring us a dead owl she had found, and we had a bunch of volunteers here. I guess it was early spring because we had a bunch of volunteers here. And so we did a little, just, you know, necropsy just to see, because we couldn't find anything wrong with it. There were no broken bones. There were no external injuries. There was some blood in the mouth. So we opened it up and her internal organs were just all full of blood. No bruising, you know, there was nothing to indicate an impact, but her lungs were full of blood. Her body cavity was full of blood. Pretty much without doing toxicology. I mean, that's about as much as you can get for evidence it was rodent poisoning. And that bird came out of Newfane. So that's not some distant issue. That's something that happens right here. Another question, how much does this owl weigh? Oh, guess. Here, we'll put her back next to me so we've not foreshortened. Can we get some guesses? You can hold up fingers if it's less than 10. Nobody? Okay. The half people I can see can't. Okay. I saw 5 pounds. I see 2 pounds. I think that was a 2. Yeah. Yeah, 2 pounds actually. She weighs right around 2 pounds. Most of what we're looking at here is feathers. You know, her head is, I'm going to turn that one. get my finger, you know, this deep into feathers. Really, birds in general are pretty light anyway. Their long bones are basically hollow. They have a series of air sacs inside their body. That's part of their respiration system, a little different from ours. And then it's muscle, hollow bones, and a bunch of feathers. Being able to fly, being light rather, really helps you fly, which makes sense, right? So, all right, I sense the clock ticking on you guys. Doesn't look like we've lost too many people though. That's always nice. Have you read The Hawk? You know, for a question that I've been asked, I don't know how many times, I really should read The Hawk. Oh, do you mean H is for Hawk or some other book? I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure what The Hawk is. I was thinking H is for Hawk. Oh, yes, that's it. H is for Hawk. I've been asked 100 times if I've read that book, and I have not. No, sorry. I know it gets into falconry a lot, which is kind of a neat, which is why I should read it. You know, falconry is hunting with birds of prey, something that has been around for about 4,000 years, and I don't really have time to do it now, but at a previous job, we hunted with the birds, and it was awesome. It's just incredible. So, I'm just looking at faces now. I guess it looks like we're starting to wrap up. So, and I get a little nod from Carla there. So I guess just thank you all for having me here today. If you have any questions or anything, if you want to reach out to the museum for any reason, obviously I'm not here to make a big appeal for support, but of course we're always open to support, especially now. That should be pretty easy to do if you just go to the website or contact us directly. We do really appreciate it. And, you know, especially since it kind of stalled out, if anybody is interested in being involved in our strategic planning and our development for the future, you know, we're stalled out on that until we're able to gather again. We've got a great consultant who's raring to go, somebody who has a lot of experience working with exactly this kind of thing in the Northeast. So we are always looking for folks who want to contribute to that. So again, thank you. If there's no other questions, Carla, it looks like you're going to say something.
Yes, no, thank you, Mike. That was great. And certainly for in my personal life, my daughter who's 6 is fascinated by animals, and it's a great reminder that you are a great resource here for us in this area. But thanks again for sharing the animals, and best of luck moving forward.
Well.